Thank you all for being here and making this happen. Absolutely amazing. My name is Skylar Westervelt. I'm the founder of Rise Coaching, head coach there as well, where we focus in on the transformational aspect of life, really diving into authenticity. I'm here with Ryan Guerrant, who is 11 years in the real estate business, very successful, and is also NLP certified coach himself. So he's hosting us here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely
Welcome to
lovely.
my home. This is my first one recording at my house.
I love it. And we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to be jumping into today is stepping into life path purpose and what's authentic for you inside of a career. And even more so, it's, at that 25, 30, 35-year-old age where there's a big transition that always comes, it seems like, with everybody I speak to, everybody I talk to, and it seems like even with yourself, you're kind of in that place of, hey, I know what I do and I know what I'm good at, but I'm also good at many other things. So for you, when did that really come up of, that transition of question of like, okay, is there more out there for me?
Well, it was really when I got into real estate, I was 22 or 23 years old, and I had never owned a business or even been self-employed. I had many, dreams and ideas of different businesses that I wanted to open. And for whatever reason, at that time in my life, I had just got laid off from my job. I had a little bit of extra time to think and kind of decide, where do I want life to go from here? And real estate was just popping up everywhere. The universe just has this way of giving you signs, showing you which direction to go in. And I've always been really good at kind of listening and realizing those signs. And so I just decided, screw it. I'm going to go to real estate school and get my license. And I had no idea where it would lead me. I had never thought about being a real estate agent before, but I just said, let's do it. And what I didn't realize at the time, which now I've got some perspective on, is entrepreneurship is an art form. It is your way of expressing your talents to the world. Many people, they sing, they do art. There's so many ways to express your creativity. And for me, entrepreneurship has been my way of doing that. Now, over the years, the vehicle with which I do that has constantly evolved. And so, like you just mentioned, I do some coaching now too. I do life coaching, but that was, that's a personal interest of mine, but it was all rooted through my experience in real estate.
Right.
And so, that's kind of how I got started in it and how I view that journey in my life now. And I'm so grateful for how things have unfolded along the way.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I learned a lot about you already. So for you, inside of, it's been 11 years, right, in real estate, when did you decide, hey, I want to get this certification and start helping people in that capacity?
Well, getting into real estate, I quickly learned that that was a way of helping others. I mean, my overarching passion in everything I do in life, every job I've taken on, every opportunity that shows up to do something like this or whatever, is, does it give me an opportunity to help others? And does it allow me to build success for myself and others? And so the way that we do that always changes. And when I got into real estate, I'll always remember the first client I ever had. This was a total paradigm shift for me. I had this client, I was brand new, I had never sold a single home. She just happened to walk into the office that I worked at and talk to the receptionist, let the receptionist know that she wanted to sell her house, which never happens. People never just walk into a real estate office to sell their home. And the receptionist paired her with me. We chit chat a little bit. She said that her and her husband are thinking about selling the house. I kind of went through the little bit of a spiel that I had for her, thinking there's no way that they're going to hire me because, like, obviously I have no idea what I'm doing.
Do any of us?
Yeah. And so she ultimately invited me to her home to meet her husband and chat more. So I did all the things. I just went frantic trying to figure out, what do I do from here? Now I've got an appointment. How do I go help this lady? Went, met them, super kind couple, ended up getting their home sold. But it wasn't until after that transaction was over, which, by the way, the whole time I made it through, I just felt like I was faking it, because we just kind of fake it till we make it. And after it was all over, one of my coworkers said, Ryan, did you call your client to follow up and congratulate them on the sale of their home and everything? And I was like, no, I almost don't want to call, because I don't want them to feel like I, was faking it. But nevertheless, she ended up calling me that same evening. And she said, Ryan, I wanted to call you and thank you again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I should be thanking you. And she said, no, there's something I didn't tell you when we got started with all of this. She said, my mother had passed away just a week before we met. And every time I called you to ask about what was going on in the transaction, or how the open house went, or what the showings were doing and stuff like that, she said, I wasn't calling you because I really needed to know those things. It was because that was my way of keeping my mind busy and getting my mom off of my mind. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh my God, this is my vehicle for helping others. This is how I make a positive impact in other people's lives. And people are buying and selling homes for so many different reasons. Life happens. People go through divorce. People get married. People have children. Children grow up and move out and go to college. I mean, people are going through these giant life changes, and what a gift to be able to usher them through those changes in life.
Wow, amazing. So is it fair to assume that getting into real estate, it was initially for the money?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you were dealing with that imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Essentially, it's fake it till you make it, which is such a difficult thing.
And I heard someone reframe that, because I said fake it till you make it for a while, and I can't remember who it was that reframed it into fake it till you become it. And man, I like that more.
Yeah, it's definitely better. And I feel like even more so than fake it till you make it is, why not be authentic inside of the process and accept what you don't know and
Yeah,
where you're not at,
absolutely.
so that you can understand, hey, like, I know what I know and I'm here where I'm at, and that is enough. And to be able to accept, hey, I'm here because I want to make money.
Mhm.
But it sounds like you went through that immediately. It
Yeah.
sounds like your first deal, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Was immediate life change of what I'm actually doing here.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
And
Real estate is just sort of, it's almost my cover up. Like, real estate is my cover up. I'm out here doing spiritual work for people, and real estate is my way to talk about it to the public.
Of course, I mean, we got the crystals here, right?
Yeah.
We got the good energy playing. Did a meditation before
Yeah,
jumping
little
on here.
Ho'oponopono.
Absolutely wonderful. So getting even more into that, do you still feel like you experience times where it's the fake it till you make it, or fake it till you become it?
Yeah, I think that, I think we never get past that. As long as we're growing and challenging ourselves in life, putting ourselves outside of our comfort zones, we're always faking it till we become it. And if you're not, I would challenge you to find something where you can.
That's fair. So I definitely understand the context and the conception that you're coming at it with, right? Even more so whenever I look at that, because I used to live by it too, like, fake it till you make it, because you're going to get there. But there was so much of that imposter syndrome inside of it, because when I feel and hear and think about the word fake, it's immediately what the world contextualized that as of, that's not real, right? Defining in the dictionary, that's not real. So there was such an attachment to the word in itself. And I have that issue or non-issue, whatever you want to call it, with words, and how direct you have to be with the framing when you speak to yourself of, okay, well, if I'm faking it till I make it, there's part of me inside of that that's not being real, that's not being authentic to myself and to other people. Because ultimately, if I want to show up for people, I have to show up. And that means that if that's bad or that's good, it's stepping outside of the quote unquote moral code and getting more into, well, if the people that are in my life with business, family, intimate relationships, children, is going to be meaningful, then it has to be truthful.
Mm-hmm.
And I stepped into well, don't fake it till you make it. Where could you really go from here? Where are you at? What do you feel like? Okay, you're fake. Like, okay, well, what part of you is fake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, why are you speaking to yourself that way?
Mm-hmm.
Forget about what the outside sees and what you're presenting to them. What do you see yourself as, looking in that mirror of, oh, well, like you're having a split
Mm-hmm.
of, okay, this is fake, this is authentic, this is real, and you're trying to integrate the two together, but it never works. They just clash. So it was a big jump, right? Of, okay, what if I was just to admit to myself that I don't know something, or I feel like I'm not good enough, or I can't achieve it?
Mm-hmm.
And then that was scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you face admitting those things to somebody else, and then it becomes really real.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no avoiding it anymore. It's out there.
Yeah. I mean, when you do that, it's almost like a level of self-accountability.
Exactly. And that's also of what I want to do for others. Is we hear it so much, but it's still an issue of lead by example, teach by example. But then you look inside of the world and there is so much of do this, but then doing the opposite from the person that speaks it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever you get to that place where you start sharing those scary, dark, it makes you cringe aspects of yourself, where you're sitting alone in your room and it's dark. It's like, oh, fuck. Oh, I hate this. It's so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad. But then you start to love it so much, because then underneath all of that is where the understanding of you actually is.
Yeah.
And now you're stepping in of integrating dark, light, negative, positive, pain, turmoil, sadness, joy, happiness, peace, all of it together, because that's the creation of existence. And while we're here, is to embrace every bit of it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Now you step outside of fake it till you make it, of, oh my God, what is real? Oh, it hurts, but it's real.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It hurts, but it's real. And it just makes even the pleasant, beautiful moments that much sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime I chat with someone and they're going through a hard time, no matter what it is, whether it's a hard time with work or with family, or maybe they've just recently lost a loved one. I mean, there's so many things that are completely outside of our control. Life has its way of giving us the full spectrum of experiences that we're meant to have. I truly believe that when we come to this earth, no one's soul comes with the intention to have just a linear path up.
No, we live in a quantum mechanical world.
We are meant to feel, hear, taste, touch, and experience all of the spectrum of life.
And that's something that I struggle with still myself, is control and believing that we have any of it. Ultimately, it's, do we have this plan and this structure laid out, but how often in your life does it actually go according to that plan?
Yeah.
You know, in business, we have the 80-20 rule. It's like, oh, well, 80-20 rule of layover, 80-20 rule of numbers of what deals will come in, 80-20 rule of what you're in control of. It's actually flipped when it comes down to it. We have a smaller percentage of control than we believe that we actually do, where it's 20% of what we can control and 80% of allowing life to happen for us. And jumping into the, okay, it's happening for me because of where I'm at and what I understand for myself.
Yeah.
Coming from a creation standpoint of, okay, well, the control that I have is being created from the creator to create inside of that design of the quantum world. Of there's so many possibilities, there's so many routes that you can go, and your life will be amazing, it will be beautiful, and you'll help so many people.
Absolutely.
So for you, do you feel like there's times where you struggle with control, and maybe you're consciously aware of it, and you decide though, hey, this still needs to be done this way? Do you ever struggle with letting go of that control for yourself?
Nothing really comes to mind. I mean, I don't really see myself as a controlling person. Now, having that said, I mean, I'm someone who is keenly aware of how people experience things.
Hmm.
I might even be somewhere on the spectrum, but like, I'm someone who, when you walk into a store, I immediately notice, what does the energy feel like in here? Does it feel energetic? Does it feel down low? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Is there music going on? Are there people screaming
Hmm.
around you? Is it completely silent? Whenever you have interactions with people who work there or even shop there, what are those interactions like? And so, because I'm so aware of those things, and that's just awareness, I can't
Hmm.
control what it feels like when I walk into Target. But that means that because I'm aware of that in my business where I do have controllables, I like everything to feel
Hmm.
and seem just right. Notice when you walked in my home, there was a candle lit, the temperature is just right, there's a little bit of ambiance, there's sun shining through the windows, there's all of these things that maybe you unconsciously noticed, but you didn't think all these things were put together for a great experience today.
Most people wouldn't, right?
Most people wouldn't.
But I can understand where you're at because I'm very, very similar. And if you're anything like me, it's something that's been consistent
Yeah.
as from a child, right?
So, as far as letting go of control, there are some things that best I not let go control of.
Hmm.
In my business, especially, I like my clients to feel a certain way. I like the experience working with other real estate agents, inspectors, title companies, mortgage lenders, and all of the other ancillary arms of the business. I want everyone to have a brag-worthy experience, not just my client. And so, in order to create that, it's like the Ritz Carlton. You notice from the moment you get out of the car to the moment you get in your car to leave, there are so many details along the way that make that an incredible experience. And so, that is something that I have a hard time letting go of control of because I know that the end user's experience is affected by that. Now, having that said, um, I'm a Gemini, and so if you know anything about astrology or whatever, Geminis are known for having like two sides to them, or some people say two faced.
Yeah.
And I see that in my life because in business, I'm very type A. I like things a certain way, I like everyone to experience it. I'm very time oriented. Everything's got to be just right. And if it's not, I'm making adjustments to ensure that the next time we come across this, we don't run into that again. In my personal life, though, I am the exact opposite. I am go with the flow. If we go on vacation, I'm the one that doesn't want to look at the itinerary. I just want to see where we show up today. Whenever I have a day where there's not a whole lot going on the calendar, I let myself just get in the car and I call it following my intuitive compass. And I just will drive whatever way feels right. I think, what am I going to have for lunch today? I should go west. And then I go
Right.
west, and then you just sort of end up where you end up. And so I have that duality in my life where I can sometimes be a control freak, but then there's a big chunk of me that's just kind of go with the flow.
So, do you find that areas of your personal life and area of your business work life, where it's go with the flow, flows into the work life, and
Mm,
then vice versa?
yeah, for sure. Um, like, I'll admit right now, so health is something that is very important to me. It's one of my top values. All areas of health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health, all of the areas of health. But we also seem to turn up and down the volumes in different areas of our life as needed. And so if you think about like a DJ's board, if you turn the volume up on all of the tracks and the vocals and everything, it sounds like chaos and you can't listen to a song that way. But you can turn down the volume on some things and then turn up the volume in other areas during the song when it makes sense. And I think the same is true in life. Right now, my physical health is something that I've dialed the volume down on. And I realize it and I see it in my life play out. And It was needed. We went through a turbulent time in our real estate market just recently. I mean, the end of last year, at the beginning of this year, the market slowed down tremendously. And I got to a point where I hadn't been in years, where I had been thinking, when is my next check going to come my way? When am I going to sell another house? When are things going to pick up so that I don't have to worry about, the finances? Because that's not something I like to worry about. I like for the finances to be just right so that I have the freedom to do the other things that I like to do. And so recently, I had to turn the volume up in my career. I'm right now hiring a new assistant. My previous assistant of 4 years is no longer with me. My business has picked up. I've got all these listings. I've got all these buyers that are active in the market right now. And so I've been forced to turn the volume up in that area, which meant that as a result, I've turned the volume down in my physical health. And so you asked, are there areas where that sort of seep over? And I have allowed the go with the flow attitude to seep over into my physical health, which doesn't belong there. That's where you should be more intentional.
So big question for you is, what about being intentional in the same way with everything that you do, right? Because think about the mindset that you have inside of business. Think about the heart that you have inside of go with the flow. And then you think about the really getting into more of the health aspect of like, hey, and I've been there myself for the past few months, to be completely honest with you. So it's a challenging thing for me.
I love a vulnerability session.
This is a challenging thing for me too. And it's okay, well, why are you putting your health as like not a priority when it's like your health is what's feeding you to do all of the other things and be who you are
to be. It's the one thing that makes everything else
integrating
easier.
that intention of, okay, well, it's the same intention of the design of my purpose, like fulfilled purpose of why you do everything that you do, especially because you are so aware of, oh, I can see everything and how these people are feeling and what this energy is. But I also understand I can't control what I feel when I walk inside of JCPenney's, right? And I can't control what's going on, but where I'm at with it is something that I can control because I know how to respond because of that level of awareness.
Yeah.
And you take that into the health, you take that into the business, you take that into everything you're doing, but then you take that business mindset of the discipline of that compound action, 15 minutes of exercise every single day, you have 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Whether that's just walking, just shutting off your mind. You take 7 minutes to meditate multiple times a day, right? So what if you're even able to prioritize at a business level? It's like, okay, well, I do this 7-minute meditation 3 times a day. What if I do it in the morning and then in the middle, I do a 7-minute, 10-minute workout and I do the meditation at the end of the day or something along those lines to where you're not sacrificing. And you can even listen to that meditation without your eyes closed and still be in that state where, okay, well, I'm actually doing the meditation 3 times a day still, but I'm also exercising because I know what the meditation is. I know what the exercise is. And it's all for the experience of myself to give that experience to others of who I am and what I have to offer.
Yeah.
Not the way the lighting is, the way that the sun comes in, because you can't control the sun. What if it was a cloudy day? What do you do then, right? Now it's, hey, I am just present with what life is offering to me as I am. And you take that inside of everything that you do. Now it's integrated. There's no quote unquote work-life balance. You understand? So how there's 124 hours in a week, right? How many of those hours do you spend inside the business?
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you. My coach would love to know that.
Rough guess.
In the business or on the business?
Let's say period.
I would say roughly 8 hours a day average, but it's sporadic. So it's like usually I bookend my days. So I've got my morning routine and all of the things that I do for work in the morning. And then midday is sort of like an open space. And then afternoon and evening are usually appointments and things like
Hmm.
that. And so if you were to kind of bulk it all together, I would say about 8 hours.
Okay, so about 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5, 6.
Six, let's call it six,
Yeah.
because most of the time it's going to be six. You're in real
Mm-hmm.
estate. Let's really talk about it. You're showing homes to people that have jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and Saturday, sometimes Sunday, is the days
That's
that they
right.
need. And if you need to show up for a client to help them get a home, then you're going to be there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say what's that, 60 hours, 70 hours a week, roughly.
Okay.
60, right?
Yeah.
Let's call it that to be generous. So,
Maybe just like 50.
okay, 50. So, almost, so 45% of the time you're at work. What is the purpose of the work on the financial side of things?
Like, why do I work?
Yeah,
For money?
exactly. And what is that money doing for you?
Oh, lots of things. I mean, like, what do I do with my money?
Yeah, you buy a house,
Yeah.
right? You have the lighting, you have the
I
sound, you have the ambiance.
Yeah, with my money, I mean, I do all kinds of things. I live a really great life. I experience wonderful places. I love to travel. I love to give back. I fund organizations that do a lot of great things that I don't do myself but would love to.
Hmm.
That's a form of leverage. And so I use my money to make myself better. I mean, we were talking about NLP certifications earlier. That costs tens of thousands of dollars to do that I
Mm-hmm.
would not have been able to do if I hadn't, put in the work and raised the capital for things like that.
So, really, what we're getting into, it sounds like, is that the purpose of everything that you do is to experience life and give the best quality experience of life to others as well.
Yeah.
So now we're in a place where there is no work life balance. Everything falls into a side of one another, especially being in real estate, right?
I think that there's just a blurred line between work-life balance. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of mends together. Many of the people that I work with in business are also my personal friends and vice versa. And so that's one of the luxuries of being an entrepreneur is you get to choose who you work with and who you work for. And yeah, many of the folks that I work with are also personal friends, and we have times where we hang out and don't work and vice versa.
And do podcasts.
And do podcasts,
and meet
yeah.
new people.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
But you asked earlier, what would happen if I was more intentional
yes.
in that? And I wanted to respond to that. So I've done it before. What would happen if I was more intentional in my physical health? And it is my quality of life is leaps and bounds better.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm in a solid morning routine, which I kind of rip off from The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Have you heard of the book The Miracle Morning?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good. So good. So The Miracle Morning, it's all about waking up super early in the morning and getting your day started with intention. And he talks about your savers, SAVERS. And every single morning you do this. So let's see if I can remember it on the spot. S is for silence. So waking up and immediately allowing yourself, before you even get out of bed, to just sit in a moment of silence. So often we wake up, the moment we wake up, we look at our phone, we see what notifications we've got, we start thinking about what we've got to do today. Do I have enough time to get ready right now, or should I have coffee? And your mind just starts going. And so you're, in my eyes, not even really allowing your spirit a moment to like show up in your body. You're just starting with the physical things right away. So silence. A, affirmations. Setting the intention of how your day is going to go. Your affirmations for me are usually I am and I have statements. I am powerful. I am healthy. I am empowered. I am loved. I have abundance. I have all the resources I need to help others. These are just some of my affirmations. You go through your own affirmations. So silence, affirmations. V, visualization. The power of visualization is so key. I can't remember who said it, but if you can see it in your mind, you'll see it out in your world. And so starting your day with a visualization, how do I want my day to go? So realize I'm going on these appointments today, or I'm going to visit this family member today, or whatever. Rather than just showing up and allowing it to happen, visualize what you want that experience to be like. I'm going to show up and I'm going to have a heart full of energy. I'm going to have all of the words that I need to say all the right things. I'm going to have the support that I need for this family member when they need it. Visualizing how it's going to be when you walk in the door and greet them. So that way, you've already run that routine through your mind. So whenever you go to live it out, you've already practiced it. SAVE, exercise, at least 30 minutes of exercise. And it can be walking your dog, it can be going to the gym, it could be yoga in your living room. Whatever you're doing for 30 minutes, just get in motion. SAVER, read. After you've exercised, give yourself a moment to read just a few pages of a book. We're always overstimulated by external stimuli. And if you can control what is going in your brain at the beginning of the day, you're setting yourself up for success. So I always say, like, you can't expect to have a clear mind and then put dirt in there. And so SAVERS finally is scribe, like journaling. So journaling either what you want your day to be like, what your day yesterday was like, whatever things you've got on your mind, things that you're experiencing in life, journaling just to get it out of your physical mind or out of your mental mind and into the physical world. So, whenever I'm intentional about my mornings, that's what I like to do.
Sounds like you could pick up that book again, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've got several copies. We could do a book club. I've
Oh,
done it several
fantastic.
times.
I'll take one.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So yeah, Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning, so good.
That's wonderful. I used to have a very similar routine. I was waking up and it was like, oh, I'm so grateful. I have this. I am loved. I love myself. Like, and going through those motions, but it was like, oh, every time it was like, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying. I was, okay, well, what's true then? I decided to wake up in the morning. I still do the silence. I still have the silence. But now it's, if I feel like shit and I'm sad or I'm angry, I'm irritated, I allow myself to just lay there, just feel it. And because I noticed that when I was in that routine of consistently doing the affirmations, it was, okay, well, you're actually avoiding what you're really feeling, and you're trying to affirm the day, but you don't believe in this right now. And this subconscious belief, what your body feels, what your mind feels, what your heart feels, what your spirit feels, is actually fueling your direction of, okay, well, this went wrong, that went wrong, this went wrong, that went wrong, that went wrong. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, maybe you should slow down and pay attention here. And now that I actually have better mornings now that I allow myself to feel that. And when I feel it, I go through the process 5, 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. But allowing myself to really feel that and process the emotions of, okay, well, what is that coming from? What was the experience? Is that guilt? Is that shame? Is that regret? Do you feel like you could have done something better? And then it's always inside of that, there's also a level of control where it's, okay, well, this is all happening to me and I don't want to experience this. I don't want to feel this. I want to be grateful, right? That's what I want. But now I was able to sit, cry, and not take it into the rest of the day. You know what I mean? It was one of the scariest things for me is to actually accept where I'm at. And it's something that I do still struggle with, but I've made an intent to, no matter where I'm at physically inside of work, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, even at this moment of, okay, well, what's that resistance? What's that feeling that you're feeling that's negative? What's that anxiety? What's that you're really going on with you, to a root of the belief system, not of what do you feel? because the feeling is that tool to get you to the belief system, and the belief system is what fuels everything inside of your life. Do you feel like that's fair to say?
Absolutely. Yep.
So
I usually call it, so there's many different labels for it. I usually call it internal representation, but yeah.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Internal representation of the outside world. When you respond versus react, you're actually allowing yourself to understand it. And this is sales 101. Listen to understand, do not listen to respond. And now it's listen to understand so that you have the response that's proper and it's real and it's organic, it's authentic, and you can actually help and you can actually do something for that person, whether that's in business or personal. Right? But it's more so about the experience of where are you actually at? Where are you coming from? What are you giving to that experience to ask for anything back? And that brought me back into that place in the mornings of, okay, what are you here to give the day? What are you here receiving at this moment? Is it that your anger and your aggression is supposed to be utilized in some kind of authoritative way inside of business today? With your child today? Are you going to be, is it going to be a softer day where you walk outside and the butterflies are just all in your face, birds are chirping, you see the squirrels running in the front yard? Or is it going to be a dark, gloomy day? And which one are you really supposed to be embracing to bring the best out of it? Because I noticed every time that I would have those rough days, I would always get into that place of I want to change it. I want to change this. I don't like it. I hate it. I want to change it. I just started accepting, okay, well, this is what it is. What is in it for you? Obviously, you're here breathing, so there's something for you here today. So when you first stepped into more of the coaching, the life coaching, and from my understanding, it's something that you just really enjoy doing, right? When you first stepped into it and the first person that you helped, what were those feelings that came up for you of when you felt, did you feel resistance? When you felt resistance, how did you approach the resistance?
No, life coaching sort of came up as like a passion project for me. So I've always been personally interested in personal development, self-help. I mean, I spend my mornings listening to podcasts and reading and watching video documentaries. And I mean, I've been doing that for years and years and years, even before I was ever in real estate. Like that's just a part of who I am. And it's strange because my mom, she's like, I don't know where you came from, because none of my family is like that. No one else in my family is entrepreneurial. No one is, invested in their mindset and self-help and things like that. But it's always been a part of me. So anyway, when I got into real estate, I started building some success in my business, and there were newer real estate agents asking if I would meet with them and just coach them and help them get an idea as to where they could get more clients and how to be a great fiduciary for their clients and things like that. And so I started doing some just impromptu business coaching, and then it sort of grew from there, where I was helping a few agents. And what I realized quickly is my conversations would go from like, what do you need to be doing in your daily business to yield these results? It would go from that to maybe, what could you be doing in your personal life that would make it easier to do these things in your business to yield these results? And focusing on that personal life seemed to me and to them like more getting to the root cause of problems, because whenever you don't address those things, you can't show up to work in your best way. And so it really just started through that. So it wasn't me trying to convince anyone, let me help you, or zapping someone or anything like that. It was just sort of the natural flow of the conversations that I was in. And so I realized that this was something I'm really passionate about. And sometimes I would see a business coaching call on my calendar and be like, okay, like, what kind of value can I bring them today? We've already talked about lead generation. We've already talked about transactions. We've already talked about all of these things. And I would almost get this like, oh, do I really want to go to
Mm.
another one of these? But when there was a life coaching moment on my calendar, or someone wanted to talk about a challenge they were going in life, because I couldn't really prepare because I didn't know what their problem was, I would just show up with an open heart and see what comes up. And so,
Uh,
yeah, and it just started sort of happening that way.
and there was no expectation of money attached to it.
No, never. There was
So,
never an expectation. And so it was, and I'd always thought of I'd always thought, what if I was a life coach? What if I got into life coaching and I did this professionally? But then, of course, there was that little bit of self doubt
Mhm.
of like, well, who are you to tell people how to live their life? And like,
there it is.
you are no expert in life, and so why would anyone listen to you? Which is crazy now to look back at all of these limiting beliefs that I had, because before I had ever thought, what if I became a life coach? I was already doing those things for
Mhm.
people without a title.
Exactly.
And so I had put it on my vision board. It was something that I wanted to accomplish, and several years had passed. And it wasn't until I was with a real estate organization who just started, they had a big coaching company attached with them, and they just started a life coaching division, which was, I mean, they were a real estate coaching company, and they started a life coaching division. And I thought, okay, if one of the largest coaching organizations in the world is launching a life coaching arm, it must be widely accepted.
Mhm.
It must be something that people have interest in. And so, if any of those people can go be life coaches, why can't I? And that narrative flipped to like, well, if all these other people are doing it and they're going to these classes to learn how to do it, why can't I just go to those same classes? And so that's what made me sort of believe like, oh, I really could do this. I really could be a life coach. Now, I reached out to them to see, what do I need? Like, sign me up. I want to be a life coach. Let's do it. And I had some really great meetings with them, but ultimately it boiled down to, we love you, Ryan, and our life coaches are very highly qualified, and they've got this list of certifications, and we would love to have you on board, but you've got to step it up and you've got to invest in yourself and getting these certifications and this experience and things like that in order for us to bring you on board. And so one of those certifications was NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
Mhm.
I had never heard of NLP before. Never.
It sounds like a foreign language when you first
Yeah.
hear it, right?
I mean, I'd never heard of it. I asked her, what is NLP? And she's like, I'm going to let you figure that out. And so I said, okay. Went online, started looking up NLP schools. I signed up for like this online course, and I've never really been a great online learner. I thrive in person. And so I started doing some of those courses, and I was just not really getting through it. And it wasn't until I went to a training that someone else was having about real estate. And she started her meeting. It was another one of those like universal moments. She started her meeting saying, I'm a master practitioner in NLP, and I'm going to tell you why it's important for you to know that before we get into this training. And then she went on to say what she said. But right when she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's why I'm here. Doesn't matter whatever she could talk about after this, it doesn't matter. She's my connection to NLP. And so as soon as the class was over, I went up, shook her hand, gave her a hug. I asked her, how did you get Master Prac certified in NLP? Where did you go? Who did you see? What do I need to know? She told me this organization that I should look into. And that night I did. And it was crazy because I went online to their website. They've got a calendar of events. And it's a two-part, in order to get Master Prac certified, Master Practitioner certified, it's a two-part thing. So you go for the integrative practitioner, which is like 2 or 3 days. I went to Phoenix, Arizona, and I tried not to show up with too many expectations. Like I do with anything, just kind of show up, have an open heart, and see what you get out of this experience. But I have to admit, I did have it in the back of my mind. Like, I'm going to go there. get this first certification so that I can do the second certification so that I can do the thing and become a life coach. And it was goal oriented in my mind. And when I was there on the very first day in Phoenix, Arizona, we talked about the concept of forgiveness and ho'oponopono. And we went through this exercise that we experienced before we started recording today, ho'oponopono, forgiveness for myself and forgiveness for others. And when I experienced that, I thought, oh, I broke down in tears. And I thought, oh my God, the universe brought me here because I need this work.
Mm-hmm.
I need to learn these things. I have forgiveness that I need to accomplish. I have baggage that I need to release. I have all of these things that I need to do for myself. And whatever I learn that I can teach others and help others with is just the icing on top. But I quickly realized I'm there for me. And so I did that. I was there for 3 or 4 days in Phoenix. I allowed about a year after that to fully integrate. And boy, it reprogrammed the way that I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I allowed that year or so just to kind of see how it shows up for me in life, how I can use that tool set to help others and help myself. And then about it, after a year passed, I thought, okay, I'm ready to go on and do my master prac, which was a big commitment. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. You're going out of town and you're not coming home for about 2 or 3 weeks and paying for a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks and all of your meals and all of the things and figuring out who's going to take care of your dog and your business and all of the stuff while you're away. It's a big commitment, but I knew it was going to be worth it. And so I went there, met an incredible community of people, and I finished up my master practitioner certification, which equipped me with tools to help people change their internal representation of the world around you. Because your internal representation of the world around you has a direct impact on how you respond and react to the world around you, which has an impact on how things happen back to you. It's like a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
where would you be without you?
yeah.
Right.
And so, anyway, that's how I went on to become master practitioner certified. And I went back to the original organization that I was doing all of this for to become a life coach, had a few meetings with them, and I was like, you know what? I don't think that being a life coach with them was an end goal. It was a stepping stone, because whenever I got through those certifications and I got more involved in the sort of onboarding process and stuff like that with them, I realized it was going to be very restrictive for me and it wouldn't allow me to do all of the things that I enjoy doing in life. So after that, I just thought to myself, NLP has been an incredible tool for me to help myself and just another tool in my tool belt to help others. I've got a whole tool belt full of tools. I've got my intuition. I've got a very keen intuition. I'm legit psychic. I am very energetically present. I can emit energy, receive energy. I now have this NLP, which is sort of the scientific way of understanding how the mind creates the world around us and the filter that we see life through. And I've got so many more things down the road that I'll continue to invest in myself in order to pour out and invest in others. But yeah, that's kind of how I got on the life coaching journey. It wasn't anything that I told myself like I have to succeed at this or whatever. Actually, there was a moment where I did tell myself that. After I got my NLP certifications, I told myself, I've got to make the best of this and I've got to create a business out of life coaching. And I tried doing that for a year. And the truth is, it felt counterintuitive for me. For me, and this could be a limiting belief, I'll admit, for me, it felt like it was difficult for me to live my life passion and do what feels right in my heart, but hold it contingent upon payment.
That's fair.
And I just had a really hard time shutting my intuition off and saying, I'm not going to share this with this person until they pay me. And I realize it could be a limiting belief. Maybe I should do a little bit of, reframing around it. But it's so much easier for me to make money in real estate and help others in the way that I have been for years and years, but also be able to help others in life without feeling like I have to rely on that to pay my own bills.
Well, maybe that's the purpose of why you had the experience and are still having the experience, right? It's always, I feel like we're always in a transitional period. Even when we're present, we understand what's going on and we are who we are. It's always transitional period. What if it's that for you, going through the NLP certification, being master certified, was so that you could simply bring that into your life?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's not for you, it's not a, hey, let's build a business for this.
Right.
Whereas for me and Rise Coaching, it's to actually build something worldwide, to be able to bring it to school systems, right? To be able to really make an impact to where now it's getting to that nonprofit organization level eventually, where it's actually allowing children to understand where they're at, to have real emotional intelligence, to step into humanity, to learn active skills that they're going to take with them into life as they're learning math, science, right? But let's also bring religion into it. And it's not a matter of what you believe in, of your religion. As long as there's no false idols there, then wonderful. And even then, let's have a conversation about it, because that's the whole purpose, is for us to be able to connect on those kinds of level and be authentic, to be honest, to be real, to be true. So it seems like for you, it's more so, hey, that was to find yourself inside of that process of what's real and what's true for you. And I even take that into what I'm doing here, is even if that whole vision for me doesn't end up being what I see it to be, and I find myself inside of that process, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've just found that, at least in this chapter of my life, to be my sweet spot is to just show up and contribute where I can when the time is right. I don't have to be the one that launches the big coaching organization. I don't have to be the one that puts the nonprofit together. I don't have to be the one that does all the heavy lifting, because there are people who are so good at that. Way better than I am, honestly, way better than I am. But I know the piece I'm good at: showing up, channeling intuition, using my tools to help out where I can, and then dipping off for the next person to showcase themselves.
100%. And for me, I love that you say, like, where you're at inside of that process and the impact that you have in it. And that's for that person that, can do that and can do it really, really well. Is I struggled with responsibility, not taking care of the bills, cleaning the house, so on and so forth. It was about 6-7 years ago when I came to this place and where I started to find and tap into who I really was. Is like, okay, well, you're here to really help people in a way that is anything that you face in your life, you will get through it. I promise
absolutely.
you will get through it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. In order to get through it, you have to allow yourself to experience it and understand it, so you know what you like, what you don't like, so that you can let go of whatever it is that's causing that discomfort and just start getting really uncomfortable. And I was so afraid of the responsibility because of like having that feeling of holding someone else's life in your hands, is what it feels like, because you're allowing them to come out, right? You're creating the space where they're able to say who they are, what's real for them to cry to you, for them to break down, for them to finally express and admit that they're broken and that they've experienced so much turmoil in their life and nobody was there. It's like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's valid that you feel the way that you feel. And yes, it's very unfortunate that you're being treated the way that you are, but you have to also take that accountability for yourself of, okay, well, why is something that happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago affecting me to this capacity, keeping me unpresent? And it's simply that we need each other. And so much of the world experiences, oh, I have you there. And they say that to their face, but then turn around and it's something completely different. And that's inside of family. It's something that I experience, something that I witness on a day-to-day basis with my clients consistently. It's, well, they say that they're for me, but every time I speak, it's like they don't listen. Okay, I'm here to listen. And finding out how powerful that is, that most of the time people will change themselves. And if I never made any money, wonderful. If the nonprofit, if the worldwide never happened, fantastic. It's that I have already been able to help so many people just by simply going to those places myself and just hold the capacity. That's all you got to do. Don't try to change them. They know the changes they want to make. Just guide them to that.
That's exactly right.
Because they tell you, listen to understand. People will tell you where they want to go and who they want to be and who they actually are. But the power in being the first one to ever fucking really hear them, you've experienced it, right? What it feels like to really be heard. And then now that whisper that was always there, that was always whispering to yourself of, Ryan, what are you doing? I'm over here. Got louder and louder. And finally, it's like, oh, wow. What was all that I was doing? That's actually who I am. And then it's just being able to create that space for people to find that for themselves is what it's all about for me.
Yeah. And, I don't know why this is on my mind right now, but it's coming up for me, so I'll mention it. There was a time not too long ago that I had to realize I'm already in the place that I wanted to be. And it was because, so there was one day, one of my really good friends is an attorney, and she was in the middle of shifting from one firm to another firm, and she had about a week off in between. And so she hit me up, and she knows that if I have an opportunity to slack off after I've gotten done with my stuff, that I will. So she hit me up and she's like, hey, I'm off this week. Like, let's go. Just cruise around, go to the Galleria, do some shopping, do whatever. So I'm like, okay. So we go to the Galleria, and we are in, I think, Nordstrom's or Saks Fifth, and we're playing this game. We're so juvenile. We're playing this game of like, guess how much shit costs. And so we're walking through the shoe section, pointing at shoes, and I'm like, how much do you think that one is? And she's like, oh, I don't know, $800. And you flip it over and it's like $1,300. Nice. Then you we're just playing this game, stupid. So across the shoe section, there's a gal who works there, and she says, hi, how are you guys? And I was like, oh, we're good. We're just looking, just browsing around. And she said, okay, I hope you're having a good day, Ryan. And when she said that, I kind of did a double take, and I looked at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, do we know each other? And she's like, yeah, you probably don't remember me. We met like 10 years ago. I'm like, remind me your name. So she tells me her name, and she said, I remember you because you told me something that really stuck with me. And I wish I could tell you what it was right now. She told me then. But she said, I was going through a hard time at that moment, and you told me X, Y, and Z. And it was just what I needed to hear in that moment to get off my ass and to get into action. And from that moment forward, your voice replays in my mind whenever that opportunity comes up. And so when she said that, I was like, wow, that's really awesome. And I didn't really dive deep into it. I gave her a hug and said, great to see you. And of course, by then I did remember who she was and stuff like that. But I walked away from that, and I thought, wow, she remembers my face and my name enough 10 years later because of one thing I said. And people don't always remember what you say, but they will always remember how you make them feel.
100%.
And that was a moment where I made enough of an impact in her life where I've pressed that impression into her mind. And that was a moment for me where I said, it's not my goal to impact people's lives in a positive way, because I'm already impacting people's lives in a positive way. And sometimes I don't know how. sometimes I don't know the impact that I've made in someone's life until later down the road. I may run into them again and I hear it back. And that's my affirmation. You're in the right place at the right time. Because I'm human. We have bad days. We have days where we feel like we're not performing as good as we should be, or, we're not showing up in a certain way for someone, or whatever it is. And that was my affirmation, my gift from the universe of like, you're doing what you said you want to do. You're making the impact in people's lives. You're making a positive impact in people's day. And so, anyway, uh, that kind of goes back into that imposter syndrome. That was a way that I had to get over, thinking, who am I to
Mm-hmm.
coach people? Who am I to tell people how to live their life?
You wouldn't be here if you're not supposed to,
Right.
right? That's amazing. So for you, from the time that the initial, hey, NLP, life coaching, that first initial desire, thought arose, and now, what do you feel has been your biggest takeaway of something that's practical that you implement now in your daily life?
I think the biggest thing is just awareness. I mean, and it's not even action, it's just awareness.
Yes.
Just knowing what's going on in the world around you, watching the patterns. And I say the patterns, if you start to notice, you might get a call from your friend or family member or something of like, something's going on in my day. They're having a stressful day because
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah. And you get off the phone with them. And then you talk to a client and you realize that things didn't go their way that day. And then you talk to someone else and find out that their car battery died. And then you just simply have this awareness of like, okay, something's going on in their day, something's going on in their day, something's going on in their day. Now this less than desirable thing is happening for me. Well, I've already realized the pattern that there's just maybe something with the moon and the stars going on. And I shouldn't take whatever's going on in my life so personal, because everybody's dealing with something today. And just that simple level of awareness can take you so far. You don't have to do anything about it.
No.
You just have to realize it. Awareness of your feelings. You said earlier, sometimes when you wake up in the day and wake up in the morning and you don't have the best feelings going on in your mind, having that awareness of like, okay, I'm feeling this emotion. Why am I feeling this emotion?
Exactly.
Where is this coming from? What do I need to heal in order to prevent myself from feeling this tomorrow? Having that awareness of just the things going on in the world around you. I would say that's been my biggest practical takeaway, is just having practical, and it doesn't take a superpower.
No, not at all. And there's so much power in simply just being still and not trying to come to some kind of crazy grand gesture of a conclusion of this is what I'm going to make from this. Well, hey, you know what? What if it's that this is happening for them and them and them and them and for me, because we all need each other right now. And we're all having a really hard time, right? One person's, their mom passed away. One person, they just got fired from their job. One person, there's a problem with the closing, right? Or there was a problem with the showing. And now you're experiencing, you have the other person with a dead car battery. Now you're experiencing what you have going on in your personal life, but all of it at the same time is also what you're dealing with in your personal life. And just allowing yourself to be still and present inside of that is such a powerful thing. It's like, I don't need to go anywhere. Like, okay, this is meant for this, because I'm going to remember this later on down the road whenever I feel amazing.
Yeah, and that's a great point also, reframing things to set yourself up for future success.
Exactly.
I was just talking about a car problem. So not long ago, I think it was about a month or two ago, I have this car that I have right now, and it is the longest I've ever had a single car. I'll admit, I'm a little bit of a car snob. I love nice cars, and not because they're flashy. I just love German engineering. I like there's a lot. Anyway,
I understand. I'm the same.
Yeah, so I'm a car guy. The car that I have right now is the longest I've ever had a single car. It has like almost 150,000 miles on it. I've had it for 5 years. I've paid it off twice now. It was initially a lease that I had to pay off, and then I bought it and paid it off. And so anyway, I was going to show homes, and my AC went out on my car, and it was like 105 outside,
Mm.
and my AC went out. And being the positive thinker that I am, thought, this is fine. I rolled the windows down, thinking it's going to be good. We'll just make it through the day and figure it all out tomorrow. And I quickly realized in 105 heat or whatever it was in Houston, you roll the windows down and it just feels like you're in an air fryer. Like it doesn't feel any better. So I got a little bit frustrated. The following day, I had another full day of appointments. I couldn't take my car to the shop for another several days after that. And I didn't even know what it was going to be. Like, what is causing it to not work? So I was getting frustrated. And then I'm human. I went into this place of like, I knew I should have gotten a new car a long time ago. I've been holding off, and now I've told myself I was going to save some money by keeping this car and blah, blah, blah. And I just go into this vortex of negativity. But then my awareness sets in, and I'm like, okay, Ryan, what are you doing right now? You know that if you were talking to someone else who was saying all the same shit you're saying, how you would be reframing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been really good at zooming out, even before NLP. I really only got certified in NLP a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been really good at zooming out, seeing the bigger picture, and thinking, me not having air conditioning in my car and showing up to my showings sweaty and trying to figure out like how I can loop around the block 2 more times before they show up because I want to get some wind cooling my sweat off my face. And so like, this is going to be a great story to tell later.
Exactly.
When I tell this story later, it's going to help someone else with whatever struggle or challenge it is that they're going through in their life. Now I've got AC and everything's fine. My car works great. But anytime I go through a struggle or I'm at odds in life with anything, I think this is going to be a really good story to tell later. And what that does is it sets me up for, I'm already putting that negative experience in the past, which from a law of attraction standpoint means that you're attracting the better future. You're pulling it towards you.
100%. The big takeaways here are the power of being still and consciously aware of yourself, everybody else, and everything else, the small details, so that you can actually accept and experience the bigger picture and find out who you are in the process to be able to receive that and walk with that and to give yourself to others so that they can experience life for themselves.
One other thing I want to leave folks with is, and this is, I learned this, it's called a bold law, but I live by it because we're all human and we all compare ourselves to others. And it's so important. You should never compare your insides to someone else's outsides.
No, that's good.
You should always look at your insides as your own story, your own book. And your chapter 3 is not going to look like someone else's chapter 18, and vice versa. Always compare yourself to where you've been. It's okay to benchmark others. It's okay to see where someone else is at. That's a goal that I'd like to move up to. That's where I'd like to see myself in the future. I do that plenty. But you should never compare your progress and where you are today to someone else's success that you see just the reels of. If you're only, like if we go on Instagram, we see all the best moments of someone else's life. So if you're going through a challenging day today, don't compare it to the third picture on their profile because that was not where they were that day. Just like where you are today isn't where you'll always be.
There it is. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Again for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely amazing. We're out.
Okay.